Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the David Hittle Real Estate Show. I am your host, as always. I am David Hittle. Apologize while I try to get this lighting. Oh, my goodness. There we go. A little bit better. All right. We'll try to make it work. But anyway, welcome to another episode of the David Hittle Real Estate Show. I am your host, as always. I am David Hittle, Realtor with United Real Estate Louisville, and it is a pleasure to speak with all of you again today, this Sunday. It is Hanukkah. So, no, Monday is Hanukkah, but this is Hanukkah week. So I will tell everybody happy Hanukkah for those who celebrate Hanukkah. And I thank all of you for watching the show today. So, on today's show, we are going to be talking about the headlines. We all read the headlines. If you read a newspaper, you look at an article online, normally you're just taking a look at the headlines. However, we are finding, and of course have found forever, but we are finding more and more that the headlines do not tell the whole truth. We're going to talk about that today. Also, we're going to talk about how smart buyers are approaching the rising mortgage rates. They are on the rise, but smart buyers are figuring out how to make a home purchase even with those rates rising. And finally, I'm going to discuss a number of reasons why you should hire a professional, and more specifically, a realtor, because you don't want to just hire a real estate professional. You want to hire a realtor, and I will explain why. But before we get started this evening, I would love for everyone to visit my website. My website is shopkentuckyhomes.com, and there are a plethora of things that you can do on my website. You can do everything from finding your next home for sale on the market to finding the value of your current home. You can also sign up for my weekly newsletter. I send it at 12 p.m. at noon every Sunday to keep you up to date on all of the things that are happening in our real estate market, and just to keep you in tuned with what is happening in our world and in our community. So the first thing we're going to talk about today is not believing everything you read. The truth, many headlines are overlooking. So there are a lot of questions, of course, especially right now. It's almost December. It'll be December next week. Can you believe it or not? And there are a lot of questions right now regarding the real estate market. What's going to happen in 2022? Some of the predictions that are going on, the forbearance program that protected a lot of homeowners who may have lost their home because of the coronavirus, because of this pandemic, is coming to an end. Mortgage rates beginning to rise. A lot of uncertainty out there. And of course, anyone with a megaphone or anyone who has a website that generates news from mainstream media or bloggers or anything has realized that bad news sells. For the cable TV world, it's if it bleeds, it leads. That's the old adage of, if you put something on TV that's bloody and nasty and full of violence, it's gonna pick up huge ratings. Unfortunately, however, the bad news that some of these headlines may be spreading can have a devastating effect on our economy if enough people listen to it. So here is what you need to know. And you can always listen to shows like this, particularly my show, because I know I'm giving you correct and accurate information as I can get it. However, there is a rash of really troubling headlines that have come out over the past few months that are talking about the next few months, and these headlines may paralyze potential home sellers, potential home buyers from wanting to make room or wanting to make a move. So, two recent headlines were foreclosures are spiking today. Oh no! Foreclosures are happening today. A number of headlines circulating out there that are calling and seeing a rising in foreclosures. The stories focus on narrow views on the topic, of course, including the current volume of foreclosures compared to 2020. They emphasize that we're seeing far more foreclosures this year compared to last year, and that can paralyze people. It can make home buyers say, "Hold on, maybe I don't want to become a homeowner. I could always lose my home." Not understanding, of course, that you can always lose your home if you're renting as well. They show daunting numbers and show things that make it look horrible. They provide the information in a way that a normal individual or someone who doesn't follow this can't understand. However, the executive vice president of ATTOM Solutions indicates that foreclosures, if we compare September to September of 2019, the last normal year, foreclosures are actually down 70%. Rick Sharga says that, quote, as expected, now that the moratorium has been over for 3 months, foreclosure activity continues to increase, but it's increasing at a slower rate, and it appears that most of the activity is primarily on vacant and abandoned properties or loans in foreclosure prior to the pandemic. So, vacant properties, homes that didn't have anyone living in them anyway, abandoned properties, homes where people just up and left for no reason. They just abandoned the home and walked away, or loans that were in foreclosure before the pandemic, and the moratorium just stopped them from being able to foreclose. But now they're starting to work that way again. Homeowners who have been impacted by the pandemic are not generally the ones being burdened right now. That's because the forbearance program did, in fact, work. Ali Harlison, the president of auction.com, explained that the program did a remarkable job. He said, quote, the tsunami of foreclosures many feared in the early days of the pandemic has not materialized, thanks in large part to the swift and decisive foreclosure protections put in place by government policymakers and the mortgage servicing industry. So that is what kept us from seeing millions and millions and millions of people losing their home. The government stepped in and said this coronavirus, this pandemic was not your fault, but if you need help with your mortgage, we are here to provide that program. And they did. Rohit Chopra, the director of the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau, issued a statement this week saying that, quote, failures by mortgage servicers and regulators worsened the impact of the economic crisis a decade ago. They're talking about back in 2008. Regulators have learned their lesson, and we, the CFPB, Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, will be scrutinizing servicers to ensure they are doing all they can to help homeowners and follow the law. So that was just one major headline that may be scaring you. It may be scaring someone you know, that foreclosures are about to go through the roof. Maybe you're a homeowner and you thought about it. Oh my gosh, could I lose my home? Is that even a possibility? Oh no. But come to find out, the facts just don't add up. It doesn't look as dire as it could have been if that foreclosure program had not been put into effect. Another headline we're seeing a lot of: rising mortgage rates will slow the housing market. Of course, this is another topic that is generating frequent headlines. Mortgage rates rising. Some people are expressing concern that rising rates will negatively impact the housing market by causing home sales to dramatically decline. The resulting headlines are raising unneeded alarm bells. To counteract those headlines, we have to look back at what history tells us. And what history tells us is that these mortgage rates are at historic lows. Let's take a look back. We go back to 2018. Back in 2018, the average mortgage rate for 2018 was 4.54%. Now, we go back to 2016, it was nicer than that. It was 3.65%, the average for 2016. But then 2014, it was 4.17. So it had gone up. It was up, down, up, down, up, down. But it gets worse. It gets better before it gets worse, but it gets worse. Looking at 2012, the average was 3.66. That's still almost more than a half a point higher than it is today. This week's number was 3.10. Going all the way back to 2006, the average mortgage interest rate was 6.41%. That is more than double what it is today. Double the mortgage rate, double the interest on your loan. And then 2005, it was 5.87%. And 2000, it was even higher than 6.41%. It was almost 7% back in 2000. But even during all of that, it's funny to look at, but even during all of that, home sales were spiking during these high interest rate times. In fact, 2005, when the average was 5.87%, saw more home sales than we saw in 2020. That's saying something, because 2020 was a fantastic year for home sales, as I'm sure you guys are all well aware if you watch my shows and keep an eye on my posts. However, after, of course, 2005, it started to settle out, home sales that is. And as we saw mortgage rates rise and fall, we had increases and decreases in home sales. So, according to the chart, at least looking at the graph that I can see here, the mortgage interest rates actually didn't really affect home sales all that much. It was more what was actually happening in the economy. Looking back, when it actually started really going down was the 2006, 2007, 2008, And if we remember back to that, we were talking about a housing crisis, we were talking about a recession, and we're just peaking up out of that every year since. The last three times that rates increased, sales remained rather consistent. It's true that sales fell rather dramatically from 2007 to 2010, but mortgage rates were also falling at that time. Looking back at what actually did happen, we saw that while those home sales came down a bit, at the same time, the prices of homes actually was decreasing as well. This year, we're going to see about a 10% increase in home values here locally in the Louisville area. But back in 2008, when we had the housing crisis and we started really bad into what they now call the Great Recession, we had home prices fall almost 15% nationwide on average. We have not seen anything like that since that point. And I do not predict, and neither does any of the other experts that I'm hearing from, predict that home prices are going to fall anytime soon. Again, we see that a rise in rates didn't cause prices to depreciate this year outside of the years following the crash. Prices continue to appreciate just at a slower rate. And that is what we are predicting and what we are seeing as the predictions going into 2002. Home prices are likely not going to fall. Home prices are just going to steady out. They're not going to keep going up and up and up like a rocket ship. They're going to start to settle out like a roller coaster on the edge of the hill. So basically, the bottom line here is there's a lot of misinformation out there. And you cannot believe everything you read, especially if you are just reading the headlines. You can't believe everything you read just in the headlines. If you want the best advice on what's happening in the current market, you need to connect with a real estate professional and, more importantly, connect with a realtor. If you have any questions about the real estate market, maybe you are thinking about making some moves, maybe buying or selling a home, just reach out to me. I am happy to answer any questions that you have, and I will try to give you all of the information that you need to make the best decision for you and your family. However, we are seeing home prices rise. That is for sure. We're seeing home mortgage rates rise, and at the same time, we're seeing home prices rise. They're both rising, which is okay because we're still at historical lows with our mortgage interest rates. But how are some smart buyers approaching the rise in mortgage rates? Of course, last week, the average 30-year fixed rate mortgage from Freddie Mac inched up to 3.1%. And this week, the rate stayed at 3.1%. The 30-year fixed rate mortgage was 2.9%, averaged for the third quarter of 2021. And the prediction is, this is according to Freddie Mac, that we forecast mortgage rates to increase slightly through the remainder of the year and reach 3%, rising to 3.5% for full year 2022. So Freddie Mac is predicting that mortgage interest rates will reach 3.5% by the end of 2022. But what does that mean for you? So today, mortgage rates are just around 3% on a $400,000 house at 3%. Your principal and interest payment, just those two, doesn't include your taxes, doesn't include your insurance. We can't calculate those things. Taxes are different everywhere, and so is insurance. It's different everywhere. But just looking at your principal and interest on a $400,000 loan, your mortgage payment, principal and interest, would be $1,686. If you're talking about a $360,000 home, then you're looking at $1,518. However, as these mortgage rates rise, it becomes more expensive. So when the 3% mortgage rate on your $400,000 home goes to 3.25%, your payment goes from 1686 to 1741. On your $360,000 house, your 1518 goes to 1567. Again, as rates rise, as they are supposed to, uh, you will have to pay more for your mortgage unless you have that rate locked in. I always recommend a fixed rate mortgage. If you currently have an adjustable rate mortgage, I would consider refinancing into a fixed rate mortgage today. Do that now. If you do not have a fixed rate mortgage, you need one because rates are about to rise. When we hit 3.5%, your 1686 payment goes to 1796 on the $400,000 home. And when you hit 3.75, you go to 1852. So as you can see, there is a dramatic rise in your payment when mortgage rates rise. Smart buyers, however, are planning ahead. There is newfound motivation to energize your search to find that dream home today when you know mortgage rates are rising. Danielle Hale, the chief economist at Realtor.com, put it best when she said, quote, smart buyers should consider calculating a monthly payment not only at today's rates, but also at rates that are a bit higher so they won't be derailed with or by a sudden upward move. You should be ready to act when you find that home that meets your needs, and that means getting pre-approved with the lender so there won't be any delays when the time comes. The best way to prepare is to work with a trusted real estate advisor. Again, more specifically, a realtor who puts your best interest before anyone else's. An agent can also connect you with a lender and help adjust your search based on your budget, and be ready to act quickly when it's time to make that offer. So again, bottom line here is serious buyers should approach rising rates as a motivating factor to buy sooner, not a reason to wait, because waiting will cost you more in the long run. So let's connect today so you can better understand your budget and be prepared to buy your home even before rates climb higher. So, again, if you'd like to get a hold of me, please visit my website, shopkentuckyhomes.com. Again, on that website, you can search for your next home. You can get a computer generated home valuation of your current home. You can connect with me. It is an amazing website, shopkentuckyhomes.com. Go there if you are contemplating or thinking about any sort of real estate move in today's market, and in any market. You want to have a realtor on your side. And speaking of which, reasons to hire a real estate professional, and again, more specifically, a realtor. So before I talk about it, I want to tell you what the difference is. A real estate agent is someone who has passed the real estate exams. They have been licensed by the state to be a real estate agent, and they can help you buy and sell a home. That's pretty much it. A realtor, on the other hand, is a real estate agent who has passed their exam, has become licensed by the state to help you buy and sell homes, but they are a member of the National Association of Realtors. And the big news about that, and the big deal about that, is that the National Association of Realtors has a strict code of ethics that realtors are bound to obey. It includes things like fiduciary duties to you. We have to put your interest ahead of anyone else's, including our home, our own. We have to follow strict regulations or stricter regulations when it comes to helping our clients or helping our customers, because we have to comply with the Realtor Code of Ethics as well as the state laws. So that's the big difference. We have to put your interest ahead of our own, while just a regular real estate agent who is not a realtor is not bound by that strict code of ethics. But here are some reasons to hire a real estate professional. The number one reason is contracts. If you have purchased a home recently, you know all of the paperwork that is involved. It is a plethora. It is a huge amount of paperwork because the state and the federal government, everything has to be kept straight. Taxes, tax purposes, federal regulations, state regulations, city regulations, everything has to be documented, signed a bunch of times. It can be a headache if you're trying to do it yourself. So, your real estate professional will help with all of the disclosures. There are disclosures that are required by law. They will help with the contracts necessary in today's heavily regulated environment. Another reason to work with a real estate professional is their experience. They are well versed in real estate. We're keeping our eyes and ears open to what is going on in this market every single day. We are seeing homes every single day. We are helping clients and customers with real estate needs every single day. It is what we do. So we are well versed in real estate. We know the ins and outs of the entire process for both buyers and sellers. So having a real estate professional puts experience in your pocket. You have someone who is experienced on your side who knows what is going on. Technology. It is making our lives easier, but the realtors have the technology that you need. I talked about my website just a few minutes ago. On my website, you can do a ton of things that you couldn't have done 20 or 30 years ago. Technology for the real estate professional allows us to know how to use that latest technology to make the process and your life easier. It used to be that you had to drive all over the city to find a home for sale. Today, you can pull up a website, shopkentuckyhomes.com, and it will show you all the homes that are for sale in your area and in a ton of other areas as well. Another reason to use a real estate professional is about negotiations. Your realtor acts as a buffer in negotiations. The buyer doesn't have to negotiate directly with the seller. The seller doesn't have to directly negotiate with the buyer. The realtors in between help buffer negotiations, which keeps emotions from getting out of control. that keeps you from spending way more money on a home than you probably should. The next thing is about education. If you've listened to any of my shows in the past, you know about the realtor education here in Kentucky. The 96 credit hours. Those are like college credit hours, 96 college credit hours to be able to take your real estate license examination. After you've passed that, you then have 48 hours. Those are 48 credit hours of post licensing education. And then after that, you get to take 6 hours of additional credits every other year just to keep us up to date on all of the changing rules and regulations. And then when you join a brokerage like I did with United Real Estate Louisville, we have training as well to keep us on the ball for you, keeping us on the ball so we know everything that is going on in this market and things that other agents in our office and in our brokerage and in our city and state are encountering as well. But education goes beyond that. Education includes being up to date on today's market conditions, being able to explain those market conditions to you and what they mean for you. And finally, pricing. Pricing is a big one. If you are selling your home, you want to sell it for the most money possible, right? Absolutely. You don't want to sell it on the cheap. You don't want to sell it on clearance. You don't want to sell it on a sale unless you absolutely have to. You want top dollar for your home. And I don't blame you. Your realtor can do the research necessary to determine what that market value, what that top price is. And then they can list that home at that top price and make sure that you are getting the best possible deal. But it works the opposite way as well. If you are working with a buyer's agent who's a realtor, then they can determine for you as well what the actual value of that home is. Is that homeowner out of their mind? They're never going to get that price. Your realtor can help with that. So again, the bottom line is always this: do not go it alone. Don't try to buy or sell a piece of real estate on your own. It's just going to cause you headache and unnecessary stress. Use a realtor, and if you need one, visit my website, shopkentuckyhomes.com, and figure out whether I am the best person for the job, because what a realtor really needs between them and their client is trust. You have to trust that what I'm saying is accurate and it's for your benefit. And I have to trust that the information you are giving me is accurate as well on what you are needing in a buy or what you are needing in a sell. So I want to thank everyone for watching the show today. Again, visit my website, shopkentuckyhomes.com. It is an amazing website full of information that will help you whether you are in the market or not. And until next Sunday, I thank everyone for watching the show. I appreciate seeing people pop in and out, and I appreciate you taking the time to listen to me today. Until next week, I thank you all for watching. Visit my website, shopkentuckyhomes.com. And until next week, have a great week and have a great day.